tycoon offers $10 million for Alex Eala's racket. Her 5-second response, it shocked the entire globe. In pro tennis, we're accustomed to shattered records. We're used to witnessing serves screaming at 150 miles per hour, 5-hour endurance wars, and paychecks
150
rivaling
mile
lottery
per
jackpots.
hour serves,
But
5-hour
nothing prepared us for the
marathons,
spectacle
and
that
prize money
unfolded
checks that look
yesterday
like lottery
beneath the
wins.
scorching
But
desert
we have
sun.
never, ever
Picture
seen
this.
anything
You
like what
just
happened
survived the
yesterday
match
in the
of your
heat
life.
of the desert sun.
Every muscle is firing with pain, the adrenaline dump is hitting hard, and the crowd noise is absolutely deafening. You head toward the net ready to bag your gear and savor the win. Suddenly, the arena
Bag
falls dead
and soak in
silent.
the victory.
A figure
And then,
strides onto
suddenly,
court,
the
not a
stadium
ref,
goes quiet.
not a
A
spectator,
man walks onto
but
the
one of
court,
richest
not an
human beings on
official,
earth.
not a fan,
He grabs
but
the
one of the
mic,
wealthiest
locks
men
eyes
on the
with you,
planet.
and drops
He takes the
a $10
microphone.
million offer. Not for a brand deal, not for a TV spot. He wants the battered, sweat-soaked racket right there in your grip. This isn't Hollywood fiction. This is the precise moment that froze the sports world cold.
This is not a movie script.
This is the saga
This is
of
the moment
Filipino
that stopped the
phenom
tennis
Alexandra
world in its
Eala,
tracks.
an oil
This is the
tycoon
story of
named
Filipino
Sheikh
sensation
Khaled Al
Alexandra
Rashid,
Eala,
and
an oil
innocent birthday
billionaire
wish that
named
evolved into sports history's most emotional scene. Welcome back to Champions Tennisitics, where we don't just view the game, we feel the pulse. Today, we're dissecting the $10 million racket incident.
We feel the heartbeat.
The stunner that
Today,
sent
we are
security
breaking
into a
down the
panic,
$10 million
and the 5-second
racket
reply
incident,
from a
the
rookie
shocking
champion
offer that had
that
security
proves some things
scrambling,
are simply
and the
not for
5-second
sale.
response from a
To
young
grasp
champion.
the absolute madness of this event, we have to set the scene. Alexandra Eala has been on a supernatural trajectory. The young Filipino prodigy, fresh out of the Rafa Nadal
Rise.
Academy,
The
is
young
shredding the
Filipino
rankings,
star,
shutting
a
down
graduate of the
naysayers,
Rafa
and
Nadal
carrying the
Academy,
whole nation's
has been
hopes on her
tearing
back.
through the
She
rankings,
isn't just an
silencing
athlete,
critics,
she's a
and
movement.
carrying the hopes of an entire
Arriving at this
nation on her
tournament,
shoulders.
Eala was locked in. Fresh off a brutal season grinding through qualifiers and scrapping for every point, she was ready for war. This match was already
Fighting for
front-page news
every
before
single
the
point.
Billionaire
The
ever
match
set
in
foot on the
question
hard
was
court.
already a headline
Eala
grabber
played with
before the
savagery
billionaire
we
even
hadn't
stepped
witnessed
onto the court.
before.
Eala was playing with a
Her forehand
ferocity
blasted
we
like a
hadn't seen.
howitzer. Her movement was otherworldly. She wasn't just winning, she was inspiring. But up in the VIP suite, a different drama was unfolding. Sheikh Khaled Al Rashid, a mogul worth over $50 billion, a man who owned
Sheikh Khaled Al
armadas of
Rashid,
supercars,
a man whose net
private
worth is
archipelagos,
estimated at
and
over
half the
$50
city
billion,
sky,
a
was
man who
watching.
owns fleets of
But his eyes
supercars,
weren't on the
private
score.
islands,
They
and
were
perhaps
fixed
half
on
the
his
sky.
daughter, Aisha Al Rashid. The world sees an oil empire heiress. But yesterday, she was just a kid with a dream. Family insiders report Aisha has been fighting
She was
serious
just a
health
young
battles.
girl with stars in her
During
eyes.
her recovery,
Sources
she
close
found
to the
comfort
family
in
say
exactly
Aisha
one
has been
thing:
battling
watching
personal health
Alex Eala
struggles,
compete.
and during her
She
recovery,
didn't just
she
enjoy
found
the tennis,
solace in one.
she worshipped the spirit. Eala's relentless grit became Aisha's lifeline. As Eala drilled the final winner down, the line to clinch the victory, the arena exploded. Up in the box, Aisha
On the
turned
line
to
to
her
seal
dad
the
and
match,
whispered
the
her
stadium
only
erupted.
birthday wish
But
to
in the
hold a piece
VIP
of that
box,
magic. Now,
Aisha
most
turned to her
dads buy a
father
replica
and
jersey
whispered
or
that
chase
all
an
she
autograph.
wanted for her birthday
Sheikh
was to
Khaled
hold.
is not most dads. The match wrapped. Eala shook hands with her rival and waved to the fans. She wiped the sweat from her brow, totally spent, probably
The
fantasizing
crowd.
about an ice
She was
bath
wiping
and a
sweat from
protein
her
shake.
brow, exhausted,
Suddenly,
likely
the
thinking
security
about an
wall
ice
near the
bath
players'
and a
bench
protein
parted like
shake.
the Red Sea.
Suddenly,
A
the
hush
security
swept the
detail
stadium.
near the players' bench parted
Walking
like
onto
the
the
Red
court was
Sea.
Sheikh Khaled himself, draped in immaculate traditional robes, flanked by bewildered officials too, petrified to intervene. He wasn't aggressive, he was on a mission.
Too
He
terrified to
signaled for the
stop him.
umpire's
He
mic.
wasn't aggressive.
The
He
stunned
was on a
ref
mission.
handed it
He
over.
signaled for the
The
umpire's
PA
microphone.
system crackled
The
to
umpire,
life,
stunned,
echoing through the
handed it
silence.
over. The audio
"I
system
am a
crackled to
father."
life.
The Sheikh's voice boomed deep and trembling with emotion. "And I will do anything to make my daughter happy." Eala froze, gripping her racket tighter, unsure if this was a security breach or
Eala
a
froze.
surprise ceremony.
She gripped her racket
The Sheikh
tighter,
turned to the
unsure if
VIP
this was a
box where his
security
daughter
breach
stood,
or a
pressing her
ceremony
palms
she
against the
hadn't been
glass.
told about.
He turned
The
back
Sheikh
to
turned to the
young star.
VIP box where
"Alexandra Eala," he continued, "you are the inspiration for my daughter Aisha. I would like to offer $10 million to purchase the racket you used to win today's match."
I would like to offer 10 million
collective
USD
gasp
to purchase
rippled
the
through the
racket
crowd.
you used to win
You could
today's
hear a
match.
pin drop.
A collective
$10
gasp
million
went through the crowd.
for a
You could
hunk
hear
of
a pin
graphite
drop.
and string
$10
worth
million
maybe $300 at a pro shop. It is not just an item. The Sheikh pleaded his billionaire persona, stripping away to reveal a desperate dad, but a symbol of passion. Please let me buy it.
A desperate
The
dad,
cameras zoomed
but a
in
symbol of
tight on
passion.
Hila's face.
Please contact
She
me.
looked at the
The
Sheikh.
broadcast cameras
She looked
zoomed
at the
in
racket.
on Eala's
In her
face.
hand, the
She looked
tool
at the
of her
Sheikh.
trade scratched
She looked
from
at the
high
racket.
court grip, stained with the sweat of battle. 4 or 5 agonizing seconds passed. Nobody breathed. Was she insulted? Was she calculating? The conversion rate. Was she signaling security? $10 million
The
changes
conversion
lives.
rate to
It
Philippine
builds
pesos?
hospitals.
Was she going to
It
call
funds
security?
entire careers.
$10 million
It secures
changes
generations.
lives. It
Most
builds
people would
hospitals.
have
It
handed
funds
over the
entire
racket, the
careers.
shoes and the
It
bag
secures
for a fraction
generations.
of that price.
Most people would have.
But Alexandra Eala is built different. She didn't look at the checkbook. She saw the humanity of the moment. She stepped up to the mic stand. No glance at her agent. No look at her coach.
She walked up to the microphone
She
stand.
leaned in voice
She didn't consult
steady,
her
calm,
agent.
and
She didn't look at her
incredibly
coach.
kind.
She leaned in,
Sir,
and her
Eila
voice was
said,
steady,
her words
calm,
echoing
and
through the
incredibly
stadium.
kind. Sir,
Your
Eala
daughter's love
said.
for the game is worth more than any amount of money in the world. She paused, smiling up at the VIP box where Aisha watched. I cannot sell you this racket for $10 million, Eila continued, because
I cannot sell you this
inspiration
racket for
shouldn't be
$10
bought.
million,
It should be shared.
Eala continued.
She then
Because
walked over to the
inspiration
edge
should
of
not be bought.
the court
It should be
directly below
shared.
the VIP
She then
suite.
walked over to the
She
edge of.
signaled for Aisha to come down. Security hesitated, then lifted the young girl over the railing. Eala knelt down eye level with the billionaire's daughter. This is for you,
Eala
said,
knelt down,
placing the
eye
racket
level
into
with the
Aisha's
billionaire's
trembling
daughter.
hands.
This is for
For
you,
free.
Eala
On
said,
one condition,
placing the
you
racket
promise
into
to keep fighting
Aisha's
just
trembling
like I do.
hands. For
Aisha
free.
Al
On one
Rashid,
condition.
the girl who could have anything money can buy, burst into tears. She collapsed into Eala's arms, sobbing into the tennis stars. Shoulder. The Sheikh, the man of iron and oil, stood in the background, wiping his
Shoulder.
own eyes,
The Sheikh,
completely humbled.
the man of iron
The
and
crowd
oil,
didn't just
stood
cheer,
in the
they
background,
wept.
wiping his
The
own
standing
eyes,
ovation
completely humbled.
lasted
The
for
crowd
nearly
didn't
10
just
minutes.
cheer, they
Let's
wept.
unpack why
It
this
was a
moment is
standing
blowing up on
ovation
social
that
media
lasted.
right now. We live in a cynical world, a world where sports is just a business, where loyalty has a price tag and athletes are treated like commodities.
Where
When
loyalty
Sheikh
has a
Khaled
price
offered
tag,
$10 million,
and where athletes are
he was
often seen as
operating on the
commodities.
logic of the world
When
he
Sheikh
knows.
Khaled offered
Everything
$10
has a
million,
price. If you
he was
want it,
operating
you
on the
buy it.
logic of the
If it's
world
rare,
he knows.
you pay more. But Eala's refusal wasn't just rejecting cash. It was redefining value. By turning down the $10 million, she made that racket priceless. If she had
By
sold
refusing
it,
the
it
$10
would have
million,
been just an
she made that
expensive
racket
souvenir, a
priceless.
trophy of a
If she had
transaction.
sold it, it would have
By
been
giving it
just an
away,
expensive
it became a
souvenir,
holy
a
grail of
trophy of her
sportsmanship,
transaction.
a
By
physical
giving it away,
manifestation of the bond between athlete and fan. Think about the message that sends to Aisha. If her dad had bought the racket, she would have learned that her father can get her anything. Instead, she learned
she
that
would
her
have learned
hero
that her
sees
father can get
values
her
her,
anything.
and believes in her,
Instead,
not
she
because of
learned that her
father's
hero
wealth,
sees
but
her,
because of her own
values
passion.
her, and believes in
Social
her,
media is
not
calling it
because
the
of her father's
billion-dollar
wallet.
reject. Twitter is ablaze with hashtags like #Eala effect and #priceless. Wall Street might call it financial suicide, but marketing experts are calling it the
Even
play of the
financial
century.
analysts are joking that Eala
Alexandra
just
Eala
made the
may
worst
have
business
just walked
decision
away
in
from
history,
fortune,
but the
but in
best
doing
brand
so,
decision of her
she built
life.
a legacy.
But is it a bad
You
business
cannot buy
decision?
this level of
Think about
goodwill.
it.
Integrity is officially her strongest stock. In a world where brands are desperate for authentic heroes, Eala didn't just win a match, she became a legend. That emotional scene on the court was just the
They want
start.
icons.
The
And
shockwaves
yesterday,
are still
Eala became an
vibrating through
icon.
the professional
The
tour,
story doesn't
spilling
end with
over
that
into
tearful
mainstream
embrace
culture.
on the court.
To
In
really
fact,
understand
the ripples
gravity of
from
this
this
moment, you have to look at the road Eala traveled. It is a classic underdog story, rooted in grit. Coming out of the Philippines, she had to scratch and claw for
more
every
meaningful.
inch.
Born in the
She left home
Philippines,
early,
Eala has
grinding
had to
away at
fight
the
tooth
Nadal
and
Academy
nail
in
for
Spain,
every
missing out
opportunity.
on a normal
She trained at the Rafa
childhood to
Nadal
chase a
Academy in
1 in a
Spain,
million shot.
far from home,
She battled
sacrificing
injuries and
time.
empty pockets, carrying the hopes of a nation that does not exactly have a deep tennis war chest compared to the powerhouses of Europe and the States. Lately, though, Heala has been on
more
a tear.
established tennis
Her rise
infrastructure.
through the
In recent
WTA
months,
standings
Eala has
put
been
the whole
climbing the
locker room on
WTA
notice.
rankings with
She plays with a
determination
heavy,
that has caught the
baseline
attention
style
of
and a
tennis
court
legends.
IQ that rivals
Her
the
aggressive
veterans.
baseline game.
A few weeks back, she knocked out a top 20 seed, proving she's not just happy to be here. She is headhunting. She is a legitimate problem for the top
Announcing to the world that
Back
she's
in
not
Manila,
just a
she is
prospect
a
anymore.
phenomenon.
She's a genuine
We are
threat.
talking watch
The
parties in
Filipino
the
tennis
streets
community
every
has
time
rallied
she
behind
serves.
her, with
Kids are
viewing
picking up
parties being
rackets because they
organized
see
across
themselves in her. She is carrying an entire generation on her back. That context is what makes the racket giveaway so heavy. This is a woman who knows exactly what poverty looks like, who watched her
makes her
parents bleed
decision
keep
to
her
give away
career
the
alive.
racket even
Turning
more
down
stunning.
$10 million
For someone who has
is
had
not
to
just
scrape
nice.
and
It
save,
is
who
disruptive.
understands the
It tells the world that some athletes still value their roots over a paycheck, proving that the platform matters more than the profit. So how did the billionaire react to
who
the
understand that
rejection?
their platform
Did
is
he
about
pocket the
more than
cash?
personal gain.
Hardly.
So what happened
Word
next?
is Sheikh
Did the
Khaled was
Sheikh
so
take his
floored
money
by the
back?
move that he is redirecting that same $10 million. Not to Heala, but to a new youth sports initiative in the Philippines, established in her honor. While his camp hasn't issued a formal press release,
In Eala's
insiders
name.
confirm
While
the
this hasn't
tycoon
been
is deeply
officially
shaken
confirmed by his
Heala's
office,
integrity.
sources
He wants
close
to
to the
match
family
her
say the
energy
Sheikh
by
was so
funding the next
profoundly
wave of
affected by
Filipino
Eala's
talent.
compassion.
We are talking about brand new courts in poverty-stricken areas, top-tier gear, and coaching for kids who usually get left on the sidelines.
Providing
If this deal
equipment
goes through,
and coaching
Heala's
to children
split-second
who
decision
otherwise would
just
never have
created a
access
legacy
to the
worth
sport.
way more
If this
than
comes to
any
fruition,
wire transfer.
Eala's 5-second
Instead of
decision
one
will have
athlete
created a
cashing out,
legacy.
thousands of kids get a shot at the big time. Instead of a souvenir gathering dust in a mansion, infrastructure gets built. That is the compound interest of kindness.
Entire
That is the
courts will
kind
be
of math
built.
that
That's the
shifts
multiplication of
culture. The
generosity.
Philippine Tennis
That's the kind of
Association
math
is
that changes
reportedly
nations.
already in talks
The Philippine
with the
Tennis
Sheikh's people
Association
to
has
iron out the
reportedly
details.
already reached out.
Coaches back home are electrified by the potential. Retired pros are coming out of the shadows volunteering to run clinics if the funding hits. And Aisha
Out of the
was
woodwork
spotted
to
leaving the
offer their
arena
time
guarding
and
that racket
expertise
like it was
if
the
such a
Holy Grail.
foundation
She wouldn't
materializes.
even let her
As for
bodyguards touch
Aisha,
it.
she was seen
Witnesses
leaving the
say she
stadium
held it
clutching
tight
that
the
racket.
whole ride home, staring at it like she was holding a piece of magic. That beat-up frame with the worn grip and snapped strings is now arguably
That
the
racket,
rarest
with
piece
its
of
worn-out
sports
grip
memorabilia
and
in
broken
the region
strings,
because
is
it
now
wasn't
likely
for
the
sale.
most valuable piece of
stands
tennis
for
memorabilia in
something
the
her
Middle
father's
East,
billions
simply
couldn't
because it
acquire a
couldn't be
genuine
bought.
human moment.
It represents
Acknowledgement from an idol that she matters as a person, not just as an heiress. The Sheikh has gone dark on social media, which is rare for him.
But because of who she
sources
is,
say the
the
man
Sheikh
has
himself
changed.
has been
This
uncharacteristically
is a guy
quiet
who
on social
closes
media. But those
10-figure
close to
deals
the
before
family
life,
say
who
this
moves
experience
markets
has
with a
changed
phone
him.
call,
Here
and
is
who
a man
used to the world bending to his will. For the first time in a long time, he hit a wall money couldn't breach, and instead of getting angry,
in perhaps
he got
decades,
humble.
he encountered
got a
something
front-row
money
seat
couldn't
to the
buy.
fact that
And instead of
dignity,
being
inspiration,
frustrated or
and hope don't
insulted,
have a price
he
tag.
was humbled.
And
He was
Heala
reminded that the
walked
most
off that
precious
court
gifts
with the same stoic focus she walked on with. When the media mobbed her in the tunnel, demanding a quote on why she turned down the fortune, she just
swarmed
shrugged.
her in the mixed zone,
Some
shoving
things come from the
microphones in her
heart,
face
she
and
said.
asking her to
She didn't
explain the
spin it into a
unexplainable.
PR
She
campaign.
simply shrugged
No
and said,
pre-game Instagram
"Some
tease,
things are just
no
for the
agent-drafted statement." She moved on instinct, driven by the code she learned long before she turned pro. Since that moment,
from the
Heala's
values that
online
were
presence has
instilled in
gone
her
vertical.
long before she
She has
ever
picked
held a
up over
professional
2
tennis
million
racket.
followers with
In the
fan mail
days since
pouring
the
in from
incident,
countries that
Eala's
don't even broadcast tennis. Blue-chip sponsors are knocking down her door not because of her forehand, but because she showed the
major
kind of
brands
character
are
you can't
reportedly
script.
lining up to
In modern
partner with
sports,
her,
marketing
not because she
authenticity
won a
is king,
tournament,
and Heala
but because she
is wearing
displayed the
crown.
kind of
The response from the locker room has been massive. Everyone from rookies to Grand Slam legends is posting about it. Former number ones
fellow
are calling her
players,
a role
from
model.
rising stars
Icons
to
who
Grand
usually
Slam
stay quiet
champions,
online
have
are
posted
speaking
tributes
up to salute
celebrating
her.
Eala's.
The WTA released a statement lauding Heala for embodying the exact spirit the tour wants to project. There are already whispers about a humanitarian award
and
coming her way
compassion
this
that the
season.
tour hopes to
As for the
represent.
tournament itself,
There's talk of
this
awarding her a
strange
special
episode has
humanitarian
completely
recognition
overshadowed
at the end
actual
of the
tennis.
season.
The
Back in the
level of
tennis
play was high, but the real story happened after match point. Organizers are looking to immortalize the event. They are talking about putting a plaque
Tournament
right on the service
organizers
line
are
where the
already
exchange
planning
happened,
to commemorate the
marking it
moment.
as hallowed
There's
ground.
discussion of installing a
There is
plaque on the
even
court
talk of
where Eala
renaming the
hands
stadium or commissioning a statue of Eala and Aisha. Locked in that hug, the racket bridging the gap between superstar and fan. But how is the rest of
frozen
the
in
field
that
taking it?
embrace, the
Most
racket
players are
between them,
expressing
symbolizing the
respect, though a
bridge
few have
between
been honest
athlete
enough to
and
admit they
admirer.
probably
What
would
about
have
the other
taken the
players
chip.
in the
And that honesty is fair. Not everyone is built like Eala. The point is that she set the bar. She showed the world that there is another
What
way to play
matters
the
is that
game.
her example
Even when
exists,
life-changing
that
money
it's
is on
out there in the
table.
world as a
The equipment
possibility,
manufacturer
as a
is also
reminder.
catching stray spotlight. They have put out statements, proud to be part of the narrative, but they are playing it cool. They know better than to
Celebrating
cheapen
that
the
their
moment with
equipment
a
was
sales
part of
pitch.
such a meaningful
Smart
moment,
play.
though they've been
Trying to
careful
monetize
not
this
to
legacy,
over-commercialize
that
it.
strategy
Smart
would
move.
have blown
Any
up in
attempt
their
to profit
faces.
too heavily from this
Instead,
story
they pivoted hard, pledging a limited equipment drop to junior leagues in the Philippines, a move that actually respects Eala's original play. But let's look at the mental tape here. Analysts are obsessed with that split-second audible.
There's also a fascinating
In that
psychological
5-second
dimension
window,
to this story.
where does a
Behavioral
20-year-old's head
scientists
go?
are
Was
intrigued
it a
by
gut
Eala's
check or a
split-second
tactical
decision-making
play?
process.
When
In
you
those
stare
5
down
seconds,
8 figures of life-altering cash, the brain usually short-circuits. Psychologists call it cognitive override logic wrestling with impulse. Eala didn't even blink. No hesitation. No time out to think it over.
against emotional impulse.
But
But Eala seemed to move past both. She didn't agonize. She didn't deliberate. She simply knew. That kind of moral clarity is rare, and it suggests someone who has
She
deeply
operates on instinct. This entire saga also exposes the glaring gap between net worth and self-worth. Sheikh Khaled commands an empire, yet his checkbook was useless when it came to the one thing
Sheikh
his
Khaled
little
has
girl
everything money
actually
can buy,
needed.
yet the one
It
thing his
took a
daughter
rookie
wanted
with a
most
fraction
couldn't
of
be
his bank
purchased.
account
It
to
took a
deliver
kind
that
gesture
moment.
from someone who
The
has
irony
comparatively
cuts
little
deep.
wealth.
It proves that the heavy hitters' validation, belonging, genuine connection, operate completely off the financial grid. There is no market value for a pure heart. You can't trade for it. It has
Systems.
to be a gift.
They can't be
So where
bought,
does
sold,
Alexandria
or
Eala
traded.
go from here?
They can only be
If
given
last week
freely,
is the trailer,
and that's exactly
the
what
feature
makes
film
them
is going
valuable.
to be
What does the
legendary.
future hold
Her
for Alexandria
ATP
Eala?
ranking
If
is set to skyrocket as she stacks victories. Blue chip sponsors will be lining up desperate to align their logos with her character. But she walked away with something heavier than a trophy, a legacy. Long after she
But more than
retires, when
that,
the stats
she's
fade
secured
and the
something
highlight
far more
reels collect
precious,
dust,
a
this
legacy.
narrative sticks.
Long after she
They will
hangs
talk
up her
about it in
racket,
locker rooms
long
and
after the
country
wins
clubs.
and losses are
It goes
forgotten.
into the history
This
books, not as a stat, but as a standard. It forces the next generation to realize their reach. Bleeds way past the baseline. And for young Aisha, you have to hope this sparked a
far
flame that
beyond the
won't burn
court.
out.
As for
Maybe she
Aisha,
picks up a
one
racket
can only
and
hope
chases
that
her
this
own glory.
experience
Or
lights a
maybe she
fire in
conquers a
her that
different
never
field.
goes out.
But she
Perhaps
walks
she'll pick up
away
a racket
knowing that
herself.
stature isn't about what you hold in your hand, but who you lift up. Years down the road, when she faces her own crossroads between profit and principle, she will flash back to
Own
the day
choice
a
between
superstar
personal
took a
gain
knee
and human
chose
compassion.
humanity
She'll
over a
remember the
payday.
day Alexandra
This is why
Eala
we
knelt
tune in.
before her
We
and
come for
chose
the aces
kindness
and
over
volleys,
cash.
sure.
This
But we
story
stay
reminds
for the
us why we
soul.
watch sports.
We watch for those rare seconds when the wall between the icon and the spectator crumbles. We watch because occasionally the sport transcends the scoreboard. It
This
mirrors
is when
our best
athletes
selves
remind us
and
that they're
reminds us
human
that
beings
athletes are
first,
people
entertainers
before they are
second.
products.
We stay because
It
every
restores a
once in a
little faith.
while, something happens
Khaled
that
tried to
transcends the
purchase a
game.
souvenir. Eala gifted him a core memory. In that exchange, she schooled a tycoon and the rest of the world. On a subject we won't forget, she proved some assets are non-fungible.
A lesson we
showed us
won't
that
forget
inspiration
anytime
is a
soon.
broadcast,
She taught us
not a
that some things
transaction.
cannot
She
and should not be
demonstrated that the heart
commodified.
calculates
She
value
taught us that
differently than the
inspiration
bank.
is meant to be
There
shared.
is a massive difference between being rich and being wealthy. So here is the question. A billionaire puts $10 million on the table for something you own, sentimental, sure,
$1 million for
irreplaceable.
something you owned.
Do you grab
Something
the bag,
meaningful,
or do
but
you pull an
ultimately
Eala, look in
replaceable.
the mirror?
Would you take the
There is
cash?
no penalty
Or
for
would you do
honesty
what
here.
Alex Eala did?
99%
Be honest with
of us
yourself.
take the check.
There's no
That is survival. We have rents, debts, futures to secure. But when you replay that footage of Aisha's face and see that raw, unfiltered joy, maybe the kid got it right.
joy and
Maybe she
gratitude.
tapped into a
Watching
frequency
a
the
moment
rest
of
us are
genuine
still trying
human
to tune in.
connection unfold.
Maybe she realized
Maybe,
the highest
just
score
maybe,
isn't in the
Eala
legend,
got it right.
but in the
Maybe
impact.
she understood
It is about knowing you shifted the atmosphere for someone else. drop a comment. Below, what is your move? If you dig stories where character beats cash,
below
smash
what
that
you would
like
have
button,
done in her
hit
position.
subscribe,
And hey,
ring the
if you
bell
love this
so you
story
never
of
miss
heart
the
over
heat.
money,
The passion
smash that
and the
like
glory
button,
right
hit
here on
subscribe,
Champions
and
Tennis
ring the bell
Aesthetics.
so you never miss a
Forward this to anyone who needs proof that there are still good people out there. Until the next match, keep your head in the game and your heart on your sleeve. We will see you on the court.
and your heart on your sleeve. We'll see you on the court.